Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Tuesday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing awesome out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great week out there so far. We got you the latest information with Tropical Storm Erin. Erin is forecast to become not only a hurricane, but a major Category 3 hurricane at this time, and I think has an opportunity to become even stronger than that. So we'll go over current conditions with this storm first, the latest from the National Hurricane Center. We'll compare all model guidance from overnight into this morning. And then we'll have a segment of the video where we'll sort of geek out with you guys a little bit, discuss the environmental background of the Atlantic and how it will eventually support a powerful hurricane. And then we'll speak on steering currents. A lot of people, of course, are wondering, where's this thing going to go? And that'll be a segment of the video where you guys have an opportunity to sort of learn why these systems get steered one way or the other and why this potentially could go one way or the other. So we'll round the video off with today's forecast and then a Bible devotion at the very end if you're interested in that. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If anybody has anything I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Not only does it give me an opportunity to pray over it, it gives many others, hundreds, maybe even thousands of other people to pray over your prayer requests. So it's a very important part of this channel. Definitely put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So, a lot of loud noises I've been dealing with this morning. I've had a loud bird right outside my door here. My dog's been barking, so hopefully no interruptions in this video. So, anyways, let's get to going here. So, this is Tropical Storm Erin right here. It doesn't look all that impressive, and really it isn't. And, this isn't surprising at all. Most model guidance had this system struggling in the shorter term as it's running right into a big plume of thick, dry air. That mixed with the fact that the sea surface temperatures in this area, as it's gained a little bit of latitude, a little bit further north in the Atlantic, the sea surface temperatures only in the upper 70s, low 80s in this area of the Atlantic, so you don't have a lot of warm waters right here. So, but you can tell some of the convection, shower and storm activity, anytime I say convection, that's what I mean, has sort of, tapered off a little bit. But anywhere where you do see sort of the oranges and the reds and the blacks embedded in those colors, that indicates convection, and it indicates colder cloud tops. So, if you look over here, for example, it looks more impressive than our tropical storm itself. Some of the blacks you see, this is, like I said, colder cloud tops. And I'm discussing this for a reason because we'll see a much better example of that with Erin on down the road. But, the stronger this convection, the stronger the updrafts, the taller they are, the taller up they get, the colder it gets in the upper levels in the atmosphere. And this is reflected by the colors you see on your screen. So we'll get a better example of this as what I think Erin will inevitably strengthen, and we'll see much colder cloud tops with this system and stuff like that. So we're going to move past this. The latest from the National Hurricane Center, I'll put my cursor over it. It is a 45-mile-per-hour storm right this second, 1,004 millibars. That's important, especially as we go forward to comparing model guidance to what the actual millibar is of this system right this second. It's moving pretty fast for a tropical system, 22 miles per hour, and it's moving east to west. So that's the latest advisory. But of course, we got to look at the cone, right? I always like looking at Zoom Earth. It's like a combination of Google Maps and the tropics. It's a free site. It's phenomenal, and you can just toggle around with it a lot. So obviously, I can pull it over here. You got the Southeast, Cuba, and the Caribbean, stuff like that. But the center of the storm's right here. You can see the sun's coming up on the Atlantic. And if you look closely, you can actually see some of that dry air, like right in here. You see how it kind of looks almost hazy? That is dry air that's running into. So 45-mile-per-hour storm. It is forecast to become a hurricane by around 2 a.m. Thursday, maybe a Category 2 hurricane, 100-mile-per-hour winds by 2 a.m. Friday, and is forecast to become a major Category 3 hurricane by 2 a.m. Sunday, and that's where the cone stops. So just remember, this cone isn't, a lot of people get confused. This cone is where the center of the storm can go. It's not an impact cone. So the center of the storm could still go way down here. So if you're tuning in from the Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, you got to watch out. Or it could go further up here. But the center of it is right here right now. So we'll continue to see how this tweaks and upgrades here in time. Now, let's go over all model guides. And we're actually going to just skip the tropical Atlantic, and we're going to move forward to Friday morning. I think it's okay to do that now because between now and Friday morning, I think that this is going to struggle to strengthen, but we expect that. So we'll start all guidance off with Friday morning. If I forget to mention a day of the week, it's up here. FRI, Friday, August the 15th. So latest Euro, what does it do? Bermuda's right here. That's important. Southeast coastline, obviously the Caribbean Gulf over here. So it's initializing this as 1,002 millibars. So right now it's like an 1,004 millibar low pressure. So it doesn't show the Euro doesn't think it's going to strengthen much at all over the next 3 days. But that's kind of expected. But we move into Saturday. You can see this begins to intensify. Saturday morning, it drops. The lower that millibar number, the stronger the storm system. So at this point, you're probably looking at a strong tropical storm or a Category 1 hurricane just northeast of the Leeward Islands. And I mean, it's getting too close for comfort at this point, right, on this particular run. Not a forecast. And then from Saturday through basically the entirety of the weekend, so we go all the way to Monday morning, this thing rapidly intensifies. And I agree with what it's showing. So it's a 964 millibar low. One would argue that's a Category 3, maybe a high-end Category 2 hurricane, but it's well north of Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, as you can tell, but getting close to the Turks Caicos Islands. And as soon as this thing begins to strengthen, it begins to gain a lot of latitude. But man, this thing is starting to look really close to the southeast coastline, right? So this is Tuesday evening. Obviously not this Tuesday evening. Next Tuesday evening. It tells you how long we're still going to be tracking this. I mean, this is one of those just long tracking tropical systems. Bermuda's this little speck here, 933, and one would argue that that is a Category 4 hurricane, maybe a Category 5. If you said, Mitch, do you think that this has an opportunity to become a Category 5 hurricane? I would say absolutely. Absolutely. But there's a high chance it might not even hit anybody. So we go just after a week out. We go all the way into next Wednesday morning. This thing is splitting between I keep wanting to call Bermuda Cuba. Why is that? They're nothing alike. This is splitting the gap between Bermuda and the Carolina coastline, and it's far enough away from both where it's not bringing much in the way of impacts as far as like strong winds. I mean, probably some gusty winds, but I mean, it would obviously bring huge waves and dangerous rip currents and things like that. But as far as this thing making landfall, no. It goes right between, and then it heads north, and 10 days from now, you still have a powerful storm system. Probably begins to lose some tropical characteristics as it encounters cooler sea surface temperatures. And of course, I'm going to show some attention to my friends up here in Atlantic Canada. How close does the Euro get? It definitely misses the Northeast. It looks like it misses Nova Scotia, but unfortunately on this run, I say unfortunately like it's going to happen. It's not a forecast, but between basically next Friday evening, y'all are going to be watching this for a while. It slams. It doesn't make a technical direct landfall, but I mean the impacts are huge if this was to happen in southeast areas of Newfoundland. What is it called? The Avalon Peninsula or something like that? I think maybe I'm thinking of something else. But anyways, hit you guys in southeast Newfoundland pretty bad. So we got to watch this system for you folks. Now, what about the latest GFS? Same thing, Friday morning. GFS already has this as a Category 2 hurricane or high-end Category 1. So GFS thinks this is going to strengthen much faster over the next few days. So we take it in a Saturday morning, strengthening slowly. It's definitely more northeast than the Euro, which is good. That means it's further away from land, from the Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, and then it begins to turn, and at the same time rapidly strengthen. So this is 6 days from now, Monday morning, the 18th, 952 millibar low. That's a major hurricane, Category 3 or higher, and this thing definitely turns faster, therefore becomes more of a threat to Bermuda. So on this particular run, it scrapes Bermuda as a powerful, powerful hurricane, but does not make it doesn't bring the worst impacts to Bermuda on this particular run. But you know, next Wednesday morning has a powerful major hurricane making a close pass to Bermuda, and then it continues to chug off to the northeast. And there's no point in really even showing the Atlantic Canada panel here, because this thing turns so dramatically to the northeast that it almost just goes flat out east. So it pretty much misses everybody. Now, the thing from last night is the run was much closer, right? So the GFSs went back east, and back east fast. That's why you don't get caught up too much with trends. You know, a lot of people will post on social media, we're trending this way. I call a trend like at least like a day and a half worth of runs. So the GFS will just go crazy back and forth. So you just got to be careful what you call a trend. But I will say the Euro did tick further west. The GFS ticked further west too, but now over the last two runs, this went right back to the east. So what about the Euro AI model? It follows the Euro, keeps this thing very weak, and I will double down on this. The weaker this system stays for longer, the more it will drift west, okay? So just keep that in mind. You might think, well, it's very weak, you know, north of Puerto Rico. That's good. It might be good for them. but it's not going to be good for other people on down the road. So Euro AI model sort of keeps this weak, finally gets into a hurricane, and it's very close to, say, the Turks, Caicos here. And, man, it's very close to even the Bahamas. We got another wave right behind it. Folks, I don't think we're slowing down after Erin, by the way. I think there's going to be multiple tropical waves behind this. But it kind of takes a Euro track, and it splits Bermuda and the Carolina coastline, and then it heads on out to sea with another wave right behind it. We got to watch these waves behind it. Gets another system going, and this one, for some reason, the Euro AI model really likes hitting South Florida. I don't know why. I don't know what y'all did to. I don't know what Florida did to make the Euro AI model so mad. But anyways, Euro AI does bring some impacts to Southeast Newfoundland, but it's not as close as the Euro, I would say. Now, the Icon had a lot of attention last night. Same thing, it keeps it weak, kind of like the Euro, but then just rapidly intensifies this. And the Icon only goes 1 week out, and it drops this all the way to a 928 millibar low. And some people might be thinking, man, that is way too strong. There's no way it's getting that strong. Listen, we have seen time after time model guidance underplay the strength of these tropical systems. So if this thing bottomed out at like an 898 or something, I would say, okay, well, it's possible. And you might be thinking, well, I don't know if you should think like that. Well, listen, Milton's a fantastic example. Some models were showing Milton getting sub 900 millibars, and everybody was thinking, there's no way. Well, that's exactly what it ended up doing. So we just got to watch these type things. We really do. So moving past this, the Canadian model, it's ticked back east, so that's good. But makes that turn and sort of just misses everybody. And the Canadian model always underdoes the strength of tropical systems. It's definitely not a strong model at all. But what about the Euro ensemble? Remember, this makes up 51 members and throws them all on the screen. And in this case, just about every member forms a tropical system. Please don't think there's 50 hurricanes out here. But here they go. One thing I'll note, you see at the bottom of your screen where you have some southern members actually hitting, like Puerto Rico, the Leeward Islands, as a hurricane. That's new. Most of these members, say, yesterday afternoon's run, didn't have any southern members to it. So you got some members getting, not a lot, a few out of the 51, getting and actually running right through the Turks, Caicos Islands, the Bahamas, and you got a lot right here just taking forever to curve. Then you got some over here that are turning pretty fast, and we take this about a week out from right now, and there's still a decent spread, folks. I mean, you got pretty large spread. But even the ones down here turn pretty fast. So it's like, we get this back in motion, and it's like, oh, man, these are getting very close, and these are some very strong hurricanes in the here. So, oh, no, here it comes, here it comes. You got one that makes landfall on the east coast of Florida. But look how dramatically these things turn. I mean, they turn fast. And this is 10 days out. Almost every single one of these are turning. I made a post about this yesterday on social media. I think this really just doubles down on the fact on how hard it is to get a hurricane to just bulldoze right into the East Coast. You can get them to make landfall, sure, but normally it's a scrape. Normally come up and just kind of scrape the coastline and head on back out. Hugo becomes more and more of an anomaly as time goes by. It's just, you just don't see one just plow right into the East Coast. They're either making a turn or either kind of going in sort of, at an angle. You don't see them just kind of just go right into the East Coast. You don't see it much. You don't. But anyways, as far as the short to medium term conditions of this tropical system, that's it right there. It looks like it's struggling. Expected. It's struggling because it's fighting for its life to maintain its moist field, which, it still has a nice little moist pocket with it. But it's going right into this dry air, which is in the brown. This was modeled pretty well. This is a deep, dry air that this thing is going right into. That mixed with the fact that, like I said, these sea surface temperatures are in the upper 70s, around 80. Not very warm. The further this gets, though, the more, once this gets into sort of this body of water, basically once this continues to move like this or like that, it's going to encounter warmer and warmer waters. Okay, but right now, it's struggling and will continue to struggle for a couple of days, more than likely at least 48 hours, because it's running right into this dry air. So we move past this, And here's a better representation of it. The Euro handling this well. Shows the big slug of dry air right in front of it, right? If you compare the actual real-time water vapor loop with what's going on right now, you can see it well. You know, the green is the moist air, brown is the dry air. And this will continue to just have to plow right into it. Eventually, the upper level wind pattern improves, and it really cocoons itself with a very moist environment, and it begins to strengthen inevitably. Okay? And speaking of that upper wind environment, let's get to right here. So, this coming Friday evening, the 15th, 995 millibar low. By the time you get into the end of this weekend, to next Monday morning, it is a 960-ish millibar low. So it drops 20, 30 millibars. And I think it's very possible it can do that in even a 24-hour period with the environment this thing's going to be working with. And, you know, I think this has an opportunity to explode. So why does the millibar drop so much? Meaning, why does it rapidly intensify like that? Let's get into this. So first thing I'll show you guys is the 500 millibar. This basically shows where low pressure and high pressure is. That's some high pressure up here. That's a little bit of low pressure up here with a trough digging down into the Atlantic. And you see this blob of blue here. That's the low pressure of our tropical system itself, Erin, right? So if you notice, there's a lot of white around Erin. So that tells me that there's not a lot of flow being generated by any kind of trough, any sort of high pressure. There is some weak high pressure to the north steering it, but there's not a whole lot steering it at this point, except itself gaining latitude because it's so strong. Stronger storm system is always going to want to get north. So if there's not a lot of steering out here, not a lot of strong ridging or troughing, that means there's probably not a lot of wind shear out here. That means that this system can really thrive and really cocoon itself with a lot of dry air and almost create its own environment. And you can see it well here as it's in the process in the middle of this weekend to strengthening. Why is it strengthening so fast? This is winds at 200 millibars, so 40,000 feet up in the air. So this is like on top of the actual convection of the storm, basically like on top of the system. So this system is spinning like this in the low to mid levels cyclonically. But in this particular case with the Euro, it's actually spinning on top of the system anticyclonically. We call that a ULAC, upper level anticyclone. So basically air is being dispersed out away from the system. I mean, rapidly. And this thing is basically living and breathing its best life. So as air is coming up through the system, that air is getting just pushed out away from the system, whether it's anticyclonically, whether it's just being dispersed out. We call that divergence aloft. And basically, that allows for more air to rapidly rise. And it's just a continuous cycle, like an exhaust system or a ventilation system. And as more air is rising, we know that rising air leads to convection, shower and storm activity. Shower and storm activity creates a moist environment. Like when you walk outside and it's raining, it's moist, right? Same thing with these tropical systems. So if a moist environment is created around this actual low-level circulation, then it protects the heart and soul of the system, which is the low-level circulation, or in this case, the eye of the hurricane. So no dry air is getting in, so it can rapidly intensify. And that's exactly what happens on this depiction from the Euro. Hope that makes sense. So it's basically going to encounter an environment that's going to allow for rapid intensification. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, guys. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I've been mentioning for a while that this area of the Atlantic has been primed for a rapidly intensifying hurricane. But just because you get a rapidly intensifying hurricane, that doesn't mean that you're going to get a landfalling hurricane. So, anyways, the last thing we'll mention about the environmental conditions here is, this system's going to be, that's not a good color. This system is going to be going through this area right in here, or this area right in here, or I might skew a little bit closer. Regardless, sea surface temperatures 29, 30, even some cases 31 degrees Celsius. You convert that to Fahrenheit, mid-upper 80s. In some cases, the sea surface temperatures might be around 90 degrees. The Gulf continues to just be a hot tub. We don't want anything getting there, the Western Caribbean. So, hope that made sense. Now, steering currents. Now, listen, I keep going back and forth with this, but just trying to figure out the best way, graphic-wise, to explain this. So, The warmer colors you see on your screen, the yellows, the kind of fading into orange, and then you got the reds. The more you get from, yellow to orange to red, the stronger the ridge. Okay, it's high pressure. Now the blues you see on your screen, that's low pressure. Flow in the upper levels of the atmosphere go around each one of these features differently, in a different direction. So we'll start this Friday morning, right? Let's draw on this. So you see that is our actual low pressure of Erin right here. So it's kind of being steered, like this, okay? Because the flow around high pressure is kind of going, ooh, that is an ugly arrow. Flow around high pressure is kind of going like this, like that, and then up here like this. And a better way to show you this is this right here. You can see it here. Stronger ridging right here. Kind of goes like this, and then the flow on top goes like this. A very elongated ridge. Somebody said it best on Twitter last night when explaining this. It's not a beefy ridge. It's kind of a long, skinny, in my opinion, pretty weak ridge. So we're going to keep it here. In time, you keep going, right? And you see some of those, more red colors kind of fade into a more muted red. The ridge weakens. So let's go back to this actually. And you can see how it weakens. You see all of a sudden you got white here. So you don't have much of a ridge here. There's a little bit of light ridging, but you can see how some of those yellows, they sort of fade away. So all of a sudden, just like we discussed with how this thing is going to blow up into just a powerful hurricane right here, the steering currents lighten. And if there's not much steering currents pushing it one way or the other, and it's a strong hurricane, this is absolutely going to turn north. It's like, all right, so you're not going to steer me one way or the other? All right, I'm heading north. And that's exactly what it does. Because there's not a strong ridging influence up here. And once again, not tooting my own horn, but I was mentioning about like a week ago that I did not see a strong ridge over the North Atlantic during this time frame at all. That's why it was throwing me off when the Euro, like 6-7 days ago, was showing a hurricane going right through the Caribbean. It didn't make any sense to me. And I was trying to, in my head while I was doing the videos, then I was trying to explain why it would be doing that, but going through it in time, I couldn't find an explanation. It didn't make any sense to me. So there's still ridging over the U.S., and there's still some ridging over here that is so weak that you can't really see, like ridging right here, ridging right here. But this system is going to find this weakness easily. Now in the Euro, which by the way gets it pretty close, some ridging tries to build on this side of the system. That might, kind of push this way a little bit, maybe. But, and then remember the flow is going down like this side of the ridge right here. So kind of a combination of both is probably going to inch this a little bit closer. That's why the Euro does to the Carolina coastline, the East Coast. So that's kind of what happens. That sort of builds on top of the system, sort of, in a way pushing this a little bit further west. So you can tell, the ridge tries to sort of build into here. But this thing has so much forward momentum at this point that you're going to take just basically a very strong ridge to spawn out of nowhere and to trap it. And I just don't see that. That mixed with the fact you got a big trough digging over Atlantic Canada in the northeast. That's probably going to try to pick it up. But a ridge does try to build on this system right the last second. But this thing has gone off and run at that point. It's like too much momentum, right? But in general, what two things are happening here, okay? The ridge looks like it weakens right here, creating a weakness for this to turn. Also, in the first place, don't think this is a strong enough ridge to really keep this from turning anyways. And then 3, this is a powerful storm system. It's going to want to gain latitude and get north regardless. So if you had a big, meaty, strong ridge of high pressure right in here trying to steer this thing this way, I mean, it probably would. But this thing would basically rub up against the bottom flank of this ridge so hard because it's so strong and wants to fight to get north. That's why I can't even count on, there's countless times where it looked like we were going to get a hurricane to hit the Carolina coastline or the southeast coastline. Then all of a sudden it trended to going out to sea. It's because these systems try to fight to turn. So anyways, moving past that. What time is it? See if we got a new, I don't think we do. So let's talk about today's weather. A big surge of storms going right through southern Wisconsin, moving out of northern Illinois. It's a severe warm storm, and this glitch is killing me. They got to do better than this. I might switch it up weather-wise here soon. But we got some rain dancing around the southeast, and we got some stronger storms off the Carolina coastline. We got flash flood warnings ongoing in northern Texas, southern Oklahoma. A lot of moisture hanging out in the northern Gulf. So that's current conditions. No super active weather ongoing right now. A lot of heat alerts out west. Extreme heat warnings, red flag warnings. It's getting dry. Heat advisories in the orange. We got heat advisories hugging up against the Mississippi River in Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi. Heat advisories in the northeast, and flood watches are up for the southern plains. The Storm Prediction Center outlook, we do have a risk of some severe weather in southern Arizona, southwest New Mexico. Marginal risk for areas of lower Michigan into northern areas of Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois. We got a marginal risk also into the UP of Michigan, extending down to Wisconsin. And then the excessive rainfall outlook, we do have a slight risk, 15% risk of flash flooding there, and a little bit of a risk for the Gulf coastline. Southeast itself, we do have a lot of just shower and storm activity. It's a very moist environment in place. Like right now, like my low temperature only got to about 76 degrees here at my house in Columbia, South Carolina today, well this morning, and the dew points are in the mid-70s. So it's very moist out there, guys. I mean, it's just that clouds and stuff and rain is just kind of keeping the high temperatures from getting so high. But definitely a little bit of a different air mass, a little bit more moist air compared to last week for sure. We had a little bit more dry air in place. We were dipping down to the 60s across the southeast, but just widespread shower and storm activity expected today across the entire southeast. So the northeast, you guys need some rain. I've been hearing you in the comments. I'm not going to see much of it today. Might get a little bit of moisture as we get into tomorrow, so we're waking up tomorrow morning to some downpours, getting into northern New York, western New York. Look like some storms down here in southern Ohio and West Virginia. And just watch out for some severe storms this evening in areas of Ohio, maybe even Kentucky too. But the south central U.S., just sporadic downpours popping up. Nothing too crazy, just kind of summer stuff out here. August tends to be brutal west of the Mississippi lately for whatever reason. And, you know, people always talk about here in the southeast how August is the worst month of heat. It hasn't been for the last several years. People have a short-term memory. The last several years, August has not been that bad. But the southern plains, for whatever reason, August is just brutal. But anyways, just anybody could get a pop-up shower or storm out here. And then the north-central U.S., the HER model's handling this line of storms well. This will race off into lower Michigan to the morning, early afternoon hours. And then more storms will develop, and some of these could be strong to severe. So this is this evening. You got some storms in Wisconsin, Illinois, getting into northern Illinois, northern Indiana, lower Michigan. Just waves of storms will make their way through. Nothing too crazy, but you do have a risk of severe weather. Western U.S., tall spiking ridge in place. We could get some strong to severe storms in southern Arizona and New Mexico, but nothing too wild expected really at all. Temperatures is what we're looking at. And, you know, just a moist air mass. Some areas will warm where you get some sunshine in Georgia and Florida. You'll warm well into the 90s. Very hot in the northeast. Still hotter in the northeast than, say, the southeast overall. And we got this slither of hot weather from the south central U.S. to the Ohio Valley setting up. And these are temperatures out west. Pretty much warm across the board, the entire little 48. So let's create a timestamp and let's do our Bible devotion. So this morning, this is the actual Bible devotion for my soccer team for this week. So I just kind of followed it. So this morning we're in Psalms chapter 9, verse 9 through 10. It says, "The Lord is a refuge for the persecuted, a refuge in times of trouble. Those who know your name trust in you, because you have..." And I can't speak. "Those who know your name trust in you, because you have not abandoned those who seek you, Lord." So I wrote a couple things that said God is the ultimate source of protection. God will provide hope and encouragement during the challenges of life. Refuge, definition of that, a condition of being safe or sheltered from pursuit, danger, or trouble. God is the definition of that, right? And many other things also. And I put, God will not abandon you. Be patient in His timing to deliver you. His timing is perfect timing. So I want to hit on that. Sometimes we want, God to get you out of the troubled times immediately. And I feel like we just go over recycled information over and over again, but it's always nice. I think it helps me. It helps others. But sometimes you just want them to answer those prayers immediately. You want them to deliver out of your tough times right then and there. But you got to trust in God's timing. Sometimes I use this word a lot. Sometimes he's just letting you marinate in it for a little bit because there's something to be pulled out of the situation, a learning lesson, a building of character, whatever it may be. And listen, everybody gets the blows of life. Do you get back up? And more importantly, do you go to God when you're going through it? Okay, the good and the bad times. I hit on this a lot, but don't just go to God during the bad times. Go to him during the good times. Sometimes I do this a lot. When things are going good, it's been a few weeks, it's been a few months, and nothing really bad has happened. Sometimes I'm just driving in my car in the morning, and I'm like, God, I appreciate it. Thank you for the period of calm I've had in my life lately. And I think that people probably don't do that as much than they complain to God. And sometimes I'm really big on being thankful to God about the good and bad, but be thankful for the good too. But also the bad is just as difficult to go to him because sometimes it's just hard because you just think that I think by default a lot of us are just negative. So that's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. God bless all of y'all. Appreciate y'all. The growth has been cool. It's been steady. It's tiring. It's a very busy time of life for me and my family, and I feel like it just remained busy over the summer. So it almost feels like you didn't get a break. But I got a 3rd and 5th grader. School started. Doing soccer now. Just being involved as much as I can and doing these 2-a-day videos. It's a lot. So I do appreciate all the kind comments and the encouragement, the giving, all the members to the channel that continue to be members. Appreciate y'all so much. Thank you for my prayer warriors, people who are praying over these prayer requests. I see you guys, some of the same people put the same comments saying I'm praying for you. So thank y'all for people who go through the comments and pray over the prayer request. I appreciate y'all very much because sometimes I just can't get to the comments that day. And it takes a few days, especially when it's busy like this. So appreciate y'all. Thank y'all. And we'll talk soon. Last thing I'll say is this. Video tonight will be late. I mean, it might not drop till about 9:30. Got soccer practice, unless it gets canceled. And it might because it just won't stop raining here in South Carolina. So, we'll talk soon. Y'all have a wonderful day.